Hello and welcome to My Xbox and Me, episode 382. I think that's right. I'm one of your hosts, MC Fixer, alongside the one and only very sick Crash. Crash, how are you?
I'm not gonna say that I'm doing good today. I'm not doing good today.
You're sick, Crash. I'm sorry.
I'm
You're
sick.
Not well.
Fix got me sick over Discord. It's crazy.
So you got COVID?
Got COVID again. It's
Bro,
like the third time I've had it.
How can you have COVID so many times when you don't leave the house? You're like me. You don't go out. Stop lying.
I'm in a house full of people. What do you mean I don't go out? I do stuff all the time.
Yo, going out in the yard and like hanging up some clothes doesn't count, brother. You know, I love and respect you, but that doesn't count as going out.
Stop.
I know, making
That's
you laugh
wild.
hurts, right? It hurts.
That's wild.
Dude, I
I'm being
can't believe it.
disrespected.
So wait, if you are you an anti-vaxxer or have you had your jabs?
No, I've had my jabs. I've had one jab. The problem was the first time I was gonna go and get a jab was right before or right when the second time I got COVID.
Oh, she couldn't go.
So you have to wait a certain amount of time, and then by that time, nobody was really talking about jabs, so it completely slipped my mind. And I went and got a jab a little bit later, so I've only had one jab.
You need to have two more, right?
I think so. I don't know.
I've had 3.
Whatever.
Because I'm a perfect little human being. Has nothing to do with the fact I was bullied into getting the other 2. I was so like, I'm only getting 1 jab. There's no way I'm getting all 3. And then America came around and they were like, psh, you better have all 3 jabs. And then Lanzarote as well. And I was like, okay, I'll have my jabs. If you didn't know, this is My Xbox and Me, our weekly Xbox podcast, right here on youtube.com/MyXboxandMe, and of course, all podcast services. If you want the show early, head over to patreon.com/MCFixer. Big shout out to our Patreon producers this week, Erengard and FNH Paul, keeping the lights on, keeping the Patreon going, and supporting the show financially. You can do it as well, not at the same level, but at a different level. Some changes coming in the new year, so keep an eye out for that. Topic of the show this week. Slow news week, Crash. Slow news week. But we got a question from Rare, and they say, now that we're about 2 years into the Xbox Series S/X era, how would you, each of you, rate Microsoft? How would you rate where Microsoft is right now? Based on those ratings, what do you think Xbox's biggest opportunities are for 2023 and beyond? It's a great question. So yes, 2 years since the Series S. Same thing for PlayStation. The only reason I remember this is I almost died 2 years ago, Crush.
Yeah.
Dude, that's why
true.
you did it. Every time I think of Xbox Series and PS5, I go, oh, I almost died.
I almost died.
I almost died then, yeah. So I counted down then. For those of you who don't know, I had appendicitis and I left it way too late, and it was a bad time. It was a bad time. Anyway, how initial like, how are you feeling about your Series S right now, Crash? Has it been the console you envisioned it being? Has it changed gaming in the way you thought it would? Talk to me.
I don't think any of the next gen consoles I've used have changed gaming the way you think you do when you're about to get a new console. And you're like, it's going to change everything. The load times, and the load times are better, don't get me wrong. But the facade of the load times goes away very quickly where you stop noticing them. And I don't know if that's not a negative thing for the consoles, right? It's just us as players and people.
It's not fair, is it? Like, the load time thing, it's not fair. It's like, because when you first experience it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then I think for me, anytime I experience a load time now, I'm like, lies. It was all lies. And like, if you compared it back to the Xbox One generation, you're like, ooh, actually, this isn't lies, but it just wears off very quickly.
Before talking about PlayStation, before God of War Ragnarok came out, I went and I was replaying through God of War 4, and just the load times for that, replaying that game on the PS5 was so different that it's very similar for games on Xbox's side. Also, Quick Resume. I think Quick Resume's super underrated.
Yeah.
It is a little bit annoying the fact that I forget if they made it or they're making it where you can pick what gets Quick Resumed. I think is a good thing.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, because the multiplayer games was the only time where it was like, I wish I could just turn off the Quick Resume. But overall, Quick Resume is a super underrated feature.
I've been playing FIFA a lot lately. I've started a career mode I'll talk about in a little bit. And Yeah, I agree with you on the multiplayer side. It depends on how the game's designed, I find. Like with FIFA, it's pretty easy. You go back in, you click the right thumbstick in, and it instantly connects you back to the EA servers. So
Yeah.
I don't find that frustrating. I don't have to sit through the whole EA Sports in the game 10,000 times anymore, which is nice.
Yeah, it absolutely does depend on the game. Because I know Smite, it was not great with Smite. It wasn't great with, I think, most of the multiplayer games I made. I feel like more games now, I don't know if they've adjusted the way they work it to work better with quick resume or what the case is, but I know.
When you can click a button to reconnect to servers, it's fine. Whenever that's not there, and it's like the game just freaks out. It's like, restart. You gotta restart the whole game. Sorry, bud.
Yeah. It tries to load you in first, then it's like, okay, we're going to take you back to the beginning. Or it's like, oh, press A to reconnect, and pressing A just sets it right back to the beginning anyway. It's like, well, I wasted time.
Well, this was pointless. Why didn't I just start the game over? Yeah. Anything else? Anything else? The one thing for me that I'll say is, it's going to sound like a stupid one. Like, don't get me wrong. The consoles are amazing. I think they're great consoles. People are still struggling to get them. It's getting a lot better than it was once upon a time, but it's crazy to think 2 years in, people are still struggling to get hold of these things. What I will say is, I expected the UI redesign by now. I know if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and they've had like little quality of life fixes here and there, but by now I was expecting like a whole new redesign, and they haven't. Xbox haven't. And then obviously, from a hardware point of view, I think it's a great piece of hardware. I'm happy I own it. I'm happy I use it. It works. It's clean. Graphics are amazing. Everything you expected. I don't think I would change my review 2 years in the way I spoke about it on launch, to be honest with you. But that being said, we spoke about it a little bit last week or the week before. I think it was the week before. Xbox still do not have any killer exclusives in terms of new IPs that are interesting, ongoing IPs that we wanted sequels for that have blown me away, and we are just sat here, and don't get me wrong, they've made some great acquisitions, and the promise of these games are there, but what has come out so far has just been, for me, lackluster. And not exciting in the ways, that I want it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the indie guy. I'm not really the AA guy either. I am the big blockbuster AAA, the Gears of Wars, the Halos, and again, those games, while they've been good, they haven't been amazing and game of the year tier for me.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten 2 good Gears of War games on one. None.
None.
No, Gears has not come out on the Series S yet. Yeah.
No Series Gears console yet.
I feel like Halo Infinite was really close, and it just missed the mark, unfortunately. Psychonauts obviously was really good when it came out. Forza was really good.
Psychonauts feels like
but that's not a U game. But
no. But what I'm gonna say, I understand how good Psychonauts is. Like, I played it. I know how good it was. I played enough of it to know this was a Game of the Year contender. But even that was already in development, before Xbox had got them. Xbox had got Double Fine. So even that I don't think of as a Xbox Double Fine game. I think of that just as a Double Fine game.
I get that. I think that just depends on perception, because like a lot of the exclusives PlayStation gets that end up being exclusives or whatever that are made by third parties, I still view them personally as PlayStation games. So for me, Psychonauts still, I view that like that's an Xbox game, regardless of the whole conversation. I get what you're saying, though. I fully understand what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like that. It's like Flight Sim. What's that new game that's just come out from Obsidian?
Oh, Pentiment.
Getting 10 out of 10s. We're an Xbox podcast. It's getting 10 out of 10s. People love the game. You played it?
No.
Have I played it?
It's 100% no. That's not a
Matt played
game.
It?
Which is very unfortunate.
I don't think it's any of our type of game. To be honest, maybe Matt, he's a weirdo. Oh, by the way, he died again in a car crash. That's why he's not here this week. Maybe I shouldn't say car crash. I should say airplane crash, just in case something happens in a car. So touch with everybody for Matt. I love you, Matt. But it's one of those games where like it comes out. From the moment I saw it, I was like, this is not a me game. And it comes out, and I go, okay. And then I saw the reviews and I was like, am I missing something? And I'm like, no, it's not a me game. There's no way
Yeah.
I'm gonna like this. Like,
Never know.
no, bro, it's text based
You
as
gotta-
well.
you
A
gotta
lot of
try it.
reading. It's like I just know already. It's just not for me. But it sucks for me as an Xbox guy that Grounded has come out.
Yeah.
Didn't do it for me the way I wanted it to. Like
But
the whole concept of how it's the way they tell the story. It's the way they tell the story.
have you actually?
Yeah, I
you
played
haven't
more.
actually played Ground. Did you?
I played more. Yeah. It's just not
Oh, okay.
the way they tell the story isn't the way I wanted it told, but it makes perfect sense for that world, survival. But
Yeah.
when they pitched the game and I saw it for that first time, it's like, oh my god, we're getting a Honey I Shrunk the Kids, and then it was like, oh, it's survival, and it's like, okay, I love survival games, so maybe this works. For me, it just doesn't in the same way that I wanted it to. But yeah, it's a hard one, man. The Xbox Series 2 years in is a hard console to judge because we're still waiting on the promise of what Xbox have bought.
Yeah. I will say, like, if I were to give it like a rating, I'd probably give it like a 7 or an 8.
Okay.
Because I think they've done a lot of really good stuff. I think the system's good. I think if you include Game Pass into the conversation, which I think you should, because that is something Microsoft's pushing. I think Microsoft's done a lot of really good strides. I think the big thing that's missing from them going to a 9 and or a 10 is really just those first party exclusives that they just don't have right now.
Yeah, I just
They do have some.
Bro, I look at the year
Like,
the
right,
PlayStation's had this year, yeah? And even, it's weird. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not in the PlayStation ecosystem like that. I'm not on Twitter like that anymore either. But a God of War game has dropped, and a Horizon Zero Dawn game has dropped. And still, I don't feel like they've moved the needle the same way. Like, they're still big games, obviously.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like that same one when Horizon first dropped and when God of War first dropped. That it's not the same for some reason.
I don't think sequels are ever really the same. I think it's very rare for a
Assassin's Creed
franchise
2.
to have.
Assassin's Creed 2.
Yeah, but Assassin's Creed 2 moved the needle more than Assassin's Creed 1 because Assassin's Creed 1 didn't move the needle that much.
Straight. Well, that's a question. That's a conversation for another day, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I love
I
Assassin's
don't know.
Creed 1. I love it.
Xbox just don't have. They haven't got something I still can point. 2 years in, I still can't point to a game and go, "That's the game you need because of this console." And
I mean, I think
go on.
to a degree, Forza was that. When that came out, everybody was talking about it. It was the talk of the town when that came out. So I get what you're saying. It's
a great game.
I just think racing games are such an oddity because I can't defend Forza as well as that game probably deserves because I'm not into racing games like that. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's just like yelling off the top of their lungs, like, of course Forza's the number, like, of course Forza's the reason you buy an Xbox or whatever. But yeah, no, I get you in terms of like more traditional games we expect that would go up against like some of the stuff Sony has. I don't think Xbox has necessarily put out, but what I will say about Xbox is it has hit a wide range of different type of games when you're talking about Psychonauts and a Pentiment and a Grounded and a Forza and so on and so forth. Yeah, exactly. It has really, they've done a good job of being widespread with a lot of the stuff they do, that if they keep going forward and then they have a couple of first party games, like I don't think they even need to have at this point as many big first party games as Sony. They just have to have enough. I don't think so.
Bro, they do. That's why they've made these investments. That's why they've made these investments.
But I think
we're going to get to a place where we're finally going to see Xbox hitting on all cylinders. Next year and beyond, what can they do? The question was like, what can they do? What can they do is put out these games that they're starting to show.
I think they acquired the studios for talent. And I think something like Pentiment is 100% talent. And so I think you could see games like Pentiment, but I wouldn't argue that that game is something of the caliber that we view a PlayStation game. And not to say that it's worse off or better off for that. It's just something different that I don't think I associate as a one-to-one trade. And what I'm saying is like you don't need the same type of big hits as what Sony has right now with the way Xbox is doing.
That's
fair.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think Game Pass is the biggest denominator. That's not the right word. Denominator here I don't think that's the right word either. It's the biggest. It's the biggest play here compared to Nintendo as well. Even Nintendo, I look at them now at this moment in time, and I'm like, okay, from a me point of view, I'm not talking from an industry point of view. I'm like, you dropped a Mario Strikers game. I was begging for that. I bought it, didn't play it. Haven't played it yet. And again, maybe that's just a me thing. As I get older, I haven't got as much time, and they dropped a few Pokemon games that haven't hit for me. They dropped a Mario Party game with multiplayer. How many times me and you played it?
Yeah. None.
How many times have I played it?
None.
I haven't touched it, Crash.
That's crazy. It's a good game.
Bro, I'm sure it's an amazing game. And I have a new Mario Party game dropped, and I bought it and haven't played it.
And it has online. It's
And I haven't played it.
Online. Yeah.
Nuts to me.
I will say, I think for me, myself with Nintendo, is like the hardware just holds me back so much. Like the new the new Mario Rabbids game came out.
That game's so good.
I'm sure it plays fantastic, but I look at that game and I'm like, that game's just ugly. I think like I see that game. I see that game and I'm like, that game looks somewhat dated.
Before I go into this, I work for Ubisoft, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah. You get it. All right. Take everything I say with a pinch of salt. That game's really fun. And they built on the first game so much that I'm like, oh man, this is a lot of fun. The way their open world works as well, and they've got a lot more exploration and stuff. It's a lot of fun. I think you'd like it. I think you'd like it a lot, actually.
I'm sure I would, but every time I see it, I've gotten close to like picking up the game several times, and then I look at the gameplay and I'm like, I don't know if I'm just in the mood of going from like playing on the Series S and the PlayStation and going to switching to that, and it's just such a different output that I just kind of hesitate every time, because I'm sure I would love it. Like Mario Rabbids, I absolutely love the first one.
Marvel Sun's coming out as well. That same similar, not exactly the same, but it's like, might as well wait for that to come out in December and then play that type of XCOM game instead of that on a system that you can play it on as well, which is the Series S. So
yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I'm really, really hopeful for Microsoft with everything they've gotten, and we've said it so many times since. I feel like since the consoles came out, it's like they got a bunch of eggs in the basket. We just gotta wait for them to start hatching, and then to start doing stuff with these studios. But we are starting to see it with something like Pentiment, which Obsidian came out and said like Pentiment wouldn't have happened without Game Pass, and we heard the same thing for Gears Tactics before, which was generally well received as well. So I think the benefit of Game Pass will be having these more creative opportunities for games. And I think that will also have a ripple effect outside of Xbox, where I wouldn't be surprised if you see Sony taking more risks on some more out there games, and Ubisoft or EA, well, not EA, EA, I don't think will ever take those type of risks, but some of those other like bigger third-party publishers and developers taking risks on games that might have not generally been like, oh, that's going to make us money or whatever off of what Microsoft is doing, which I think is a really good thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think for like next year, like what's my most anticipated game? Like, there's so much coming next year from a third-party point of view as well. You got Alan Wake 2, Resident Evil 4 remake, new Assassins, we assume, and then I'm thinking about, obviously, the Avatar game as well. Final Fantasy. Like, there's a lot coming out next year. But then I'm thinking from an X point of view, we're still waiting to know dates and stuff. Right? Starfield, obviously. I don't think there's anything Xbox could announce that would like usurp Starfield as the most to look forward to game for Xbox. Whether you like I'm not into Starfield, but I think Starfield's success spells out how the next year will be perceived for Xbox for me. I'm super hopeful on Redfall as well. That is good. Redfall
2. Yeah. I'm very hopeful. That's on a more personal level. I think Redfall is probably the game that we know for sure is coming out next year from Xbox that I'm most looking forward to.
I think Warzone's brought it back for me a little bit, and we'll talk about it in what's been in our box in a second. But I'm still waiting for that game from Xbox that's like takes the gaming culture by storm and goes, we're all playing this, and we all, bro, like, I look on Discord now, obviously you appear offline way too much, I can't even tell if you're on or not, but I look on and I'm like, oh, should I ask Chris to play? And I'm like, what am I even going to ask him to play right now? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing now. Warzone's out. Like, I'm down to play that as much as anybody. But I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I don't think, oh, Crash, should we play Grounded? Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure
yeah.
other people do, but I don't. Or Forza, or like, do you know what I mean? Even Halo the multiplayer didn't stick around long enough for it to become what I think some of us were hoping for it to. Again, Forge mode next year is where we hope. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I'm hopeful, but I'm stressed out as well by it.
Yeah, I think the difficulty with that is as well as games don't sort of exist in the same way they did before. Whereas people are like, all I'm going to do is play Gears of War, or all I'm going to do is play Call of Duty or Halo. I think games are very much in a rapidly replacement stage. I think the games that you're talking about, the games that have the ability to come back, like Call of Duty, people will step away from Call of Duty and then a new update comes out and they're like, I'm jumping back in. And the same thing with something like Fortnite.
Destiny.
And even though Fortnite doesn't get talked about as much right now, it still has a lot of people playing and people constantly go back to Fortnite. And I think that's the sort of staying power that is somewhat difficult to find. And I think it's too early, even with Halo, to tell if Halo has that ability. I think we'll see once Halo starts it does major changes to its system and it starts putting out bigger updates. Does Halo have the ability to come back into the conversation?
No, it doesn't.
We'll see.
We will. We will indeed, my friend. We will indeed. Let's jump into Variah. Thank you very much for the question, my friend. Let's jump into what's been in our box, Crash. I'll kick off. I've been playing a bit of FIFA 23. I finally started my career mode. They've added some new things to career mode. Again, I know anyone who plays FIFA knows this already, but they've added they kind of tried to add like a lifestyle sort of thing to it, where like the character is a maverick, or you get bonus points for this, or you buy a gym. Like, they've added like wages to the game now and stuff for your player career mode. So there's like it's a step forward a little bit, but then you play the match and like the scoreboard's all broken and they haven't fixed career mode at all. It's still buggy as hell. And I'm like, bro, the people who play career mode, me, because I don't really play Ultimate Team, are like, why do we get shafted every year? Why? Why every year do I feel like I'm playing a broken mode of career mode, EA? Why? Every year.
Career mode doesn't sell copies.
I know.
Career mode's there simply for the hype because it makes good trailers and it makes good advertisement. That's really like the only reason. Yeah. It makes me sad. I think in a really weird way, FIFA could possibly get more in. So ingrained into what it is. I feel like there's a possibility for, if FIFA had a good career mode, for people who don't like stuff like FIFA to get invested in the game for a career mode. But then that's such a hard sell to switch how they sell FIFA currently that I don't know if it would be worth it for them.
The problem is you can't monetize career mode.
I mean, you could.
No, you could.
You wanna open up a gym in the game? Pay $50 for your life.
Oh my God, get out of here. I hate you so much. And the other game that I was playing, I alluded to it earlier, Call of Duty Warzone 2. I played about 7 hours the day after it came out. We were meant to do a My Xbox and Me stream. Unfortunately, we couldn't due to the fact that Matt P screwed it all up. I'm throwing him under the bus, Crash. He screwed it all up. I knew that commenter was right. We should have got rid of Matt P. I knew it. No, all jokes aside, the servers were just busted. They're still a bit busted, to be honest with you. Social's still broken and things. But yeah, I played it. I really like it. I really, really like it. It's challenging. It's fun. It's interesting. Obviously, movement isn't slide cancelling and bunny hopping and stuff like that, which to me makes it that much more fun. Proximity chat is absolutely hell and amazing at the same time. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Is it as good as Warzone 1? No. But in the same breath, I don't know if that's just because COVID. That time in COVID where all we did was play Warzone. That was it.
Yeah.
Like, we're never going to get that back.
I will say Warzone's still available to play for anybody who wants to play the original Warzone. It has not been replaced, so if that's what you really want fixed, you could go play.
No one's doing that. Have you had the chance to try it yet?
I've not had the opportunity to try it yet.
Okay.
I've been waiting to play it with the boys, but stuff happens. I have played the multiplayer.
Oh, okay. What do you think?
I like it. I enjoy it. I think my opinions from the beta still hold. I like the fact, like you were mentioning, there's no slide canceling, and bunny hopping and stuff like that. I feel like every match is competitive enough for me to enjoy it. Where it's
Yeah.
not. I'm really personally not a fan of stomps that don't feel like they're earned or getting stomped, and I feel like the way they've set up the game is very much a middle ground that I'm enjoying it right now. The guns feel good. I will say the unlocking different guns, like actually like looking at it now, is
Trash.
it's confusing.
Trash.
It is so confusing.
I was for it when I heard about it, and then now
Yeah.
it's in like to unlock a gun that you want, you have to go and level up 3 different guns. It's like no,
Yeah,
this is
and then
so
to unlock certain attachments, you need to level up certain guns as well. It's
Yeah.
like it's just a mess of a system
Yep.
that I wonder, once battle pass weapons start coming out more often, are they going to keep that system up of, well, you have to have leveled up that gun that came out 3 battle passes ago to unlock this attachment for this gun, and I hope that's not the case, but
the
we'll
Warzone
see
battle
how.
pass is interesting as well. I don't know if you've seen that.
There's a difference between the normal battle
I don't
pass
know
and
about
Warzone
the
battle pass.
what's the normal battle pass? Is it like hexagony?
Oh, where you go into different, like you're traveling
Yeah.
map and unlocking stuff. Yeah.
What do you think of it?
I feel like I like the more freedom that if somebody wants, like, hey, there's a gun here, like you can just level up to the gun instead of having to get to like level 70 or whatever it is in the battle pass. So I like it in theory. I don't know if I like it in practice. I'd have to mess around with it more.
I don't mind it in practice. It's just confusing. At the start, it was very,
yeah.
it was very much like, I don't understand. I need to unlock these 4, but do they use my battle? Oh, they do use my battle token. It's like, well, hold up a goddamn minute. Like,
Yeah,
I bought,
'cause
like,
I
I
thought-
got the level 50 boost thing,
Yeah.
right? But it's like, usually I'm used to, oh, okay, I'm going to go from 0 to 50. This time it's just like, no. You keep going.
It's gonna suck for some people who are in the game day one and like grind it out and go down a path for a gun, and they're like, oh well, that's not the meta gun. The meta gun was the one all the way on the other side of the map. And you're like,
And then
oh
you gotta
well.
work your way back
right.
over there, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's different. I like the fact they've tried something different. I think that needs to be
Yeah.
celebrated, because we're getting to a point now where everything feels exactly the goddamn same. But it's challenging, and it's like, okay, this is a little bit more confusing than what I'm used to. And again, we always push against new things anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. I will say, I think if it was just simple, a map you were picking where you could go to whatever it was and it was one item per section, it would be a lot simpler than it's like unlock the 4 items here and then you have to
Yeah.
unlock the 5th one.
But if
Because the
by the
first
way-
time I was messing around with it.
If you're gonna do that, put the other item at the bottom, not the bottom ones, and then
Yeah, I thought like once you unlock the 4, that the 5th
That
one
would
on.
unlock.
For the longest time, I thought my battle pass was bugged and the game was just bugged. And I was like, okay, well, servers are having issues. Clearly, battle pass is having an issue. I didn't worry about it,
no, we're just doing it.
but
Just doing it.
yeah, I was just a little dumb,
Don't worry, me too. But yeah, man, I'm enjoying COD. If anyone wants to play, hit me up. My gamer tag is XOB Space Fixer. Add me, send me a message to let me know you're from the My Xbox and Me community. I'm always looking to run squads or duos or something. I don't like the kit. I don't like solo. Still don't like solo, but everything else I'm all for. Trios, squads, duos. Let's do it. I'm down to play. Crash, what you been playing?
Modern Warfare 2, like I mentioned, and then that's about it. I've been a little bit sick and under the weather, so I haven't started the campaign. I wanted to start that the other day, but I was like, I'm just not. I'm not feeling it right now. I'm excited to jump into that though, just to see how it is. I don't think it'll live up to the last game, but I think this is somewhat of a, I don't want to say a bad year in gaming, but it is a drier year that I feel like even if it doesn't live up that hard.
I'm
for
interested
me.
to see when we look back, was it really that bad a year?
Yeah.
Horizon, God of War, I mean, games. We will talk about the Game Awards next week, by the way. We were going to talk about it this week, but obviously Matt's not here, so we want to do like a whole what we're picking sort of episode, so we'll do that next week, sorry. I don't know if it was as bad as I thought it was. Xbox was particularly
I don't
bad.
think so. Yeah,
Xbox's
I think when
lineup's
you're
been
looking
bad.
I think when you're looking at games as a whole,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah.
But I think, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see when the conversation happens.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This week's dashboard, let's get into it. First news story, Samsung will add Xbox Cloud Gaming to millions of TVs this year. Samsung will add the ability to stream games through Xbox Cloud Gaming and other services to millions of TVs by the end of the year. Starting next week, Samsung will make game streaming apps from Xbox, Amazon Luna, Nvidia GeForce Now, and Utomiki. Don't know what that is. Available to select in 2021 Samsung Smart TVs. Black Nuck and the Antstream Arcade will also ship to those TVs at some point in 2023. Specifically, the 98QN90A, the 32Q60A, the Q70A, and the AU8000 will get access to Samsung Gaming Hub. Once support for the streaming apps roll out to all the TVs, the application will be made available to download through the Samsung App Store through the Media Hub. The install process is essentially identical to the installing an app like Netflix. The app will just appear within the Gaming Hub. Exciting news, Crash. Exciting news.
Yeah, I wonder how well it'll work compared to the Samsung TVs that have it natively installed. I wonder if the process will be similar. And then we've had conversations of like, is there hardware in the TVs that make the streaming possible and stuff like that. I think this will be a very important point to like either debunk that or support the idea that there is stuff in these TVs. So I think this is very, very important to see if we will actually need how beefy the stick from Xbox will have to be to support streaming as well. So I think it'll be definitely something to keep an eye out on.
Does this make you want a Samsung TV at all?
No.
No.
I got my Xbox right here.
Yeah.
If I need to use it on another TV, I'll just unplug it and move it to another TV.
No, thank you. I'm never doing that. I'm never doing that. I started looking at Samsung TVs the other day. I was like, oh, what we move? I'll put one in my bedroom. Because I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want too much stuff in the bedroom when we eventually move.
Yeah.
I want the bedroom to be a bedroom. But you know those odd occasions when you're sick and you just want to stay in bed all day or something. I think this was like a cool thing to have, to be able to be like, oh, I'll just stream it. Boom, done.
Yeah, but I think the conversation's different when you're getting a TV for a purpose or something like that. Not like, hey, I have this TV, but the Samsung looks good, so I'm just going to replace the TV.
Well, that's what I always say that about, like, how often do you change your TV?
Not often.
No.
Some people change their TVs very often.
That's wild to me.
But most people don't.
Yeah. Nuts. Next up, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt current gen update gets December release date for Xbox Series S, X, PC, and PS5. CG Projekt Red shares on Monday that the current generation update for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt will now be released on December 14th for Xbox Series X, Series S, PC, and PS5. Details are somewhat scarce, but the publisher has confirmed that this upgrade will entail ray trace support, fast load times on console, DLC based on The Witcher Netflix series, and a variety of mods integrated into the experience. Do you want to go back, Crush?
Yeah. I
do as well, but it's a hard one, man. That game's so big. I'm like, I don't have time.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited for like January-ish of next year, once like we have no dedication, like I gotta get the games done by a certain point. It's like I could take time away like during a week or something like that, or play it like casually over the course of a month or two and not be worried about like I have to hit certain games by certain dates because we're getting close to the end of the year to jump back into this.
Once we finished watching the TV series, Haley was like, oh, do you think I'd like The Witcher? I was like, I actually do think you'd like The Witcher. I was like, wait for the new... I knew there was a new update coming out. I was like, wait for that to come out. Because it is kind of an old game. It doesn't look amazing now compared to certain types of games. So, yeah, I'm going to let her know about this. December 14th, finally. Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what the variety of mods integrated into the experience means. Yeah, because I feel like that could be very cool if there's some of the more interesting quality of life mods. Because mods... for people who don't play on PC and have never modded a game and stuff like that, mods are actually very, very crazy for some games and how drastically they change the experience from something that's decent to something that's amazing.
Well, you guys know how much I play GTA now. Like,
Yeah, and that's all mods.
it's a whole mod. That's all it is. It's a gigantic mod. And yeah, it's wild. It's yeah. I think people don't. I always. I say always. When I go on Facebook, sometimes I'll come across an article which is like, GTA 5 has added multiplayer, and then everyone in the comments like, it's for PC, it's a mod. It's for PC, it's a mod. And they were like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, but this is where the ideas start. Sometimes. Like, sometimes a mod can be just a mod and it turns into something, and then that's clearly maybe what's happened here. They've seen some decent mods and gone, oh, that actually would be amazing in the game. Why don't we just do that? And we'll see what that is when it finally comes, December 14th. Yep. Next up, Control 2 confirmed by Remedy Entertainment for Xbox Series S, X, PC, and PS5. Remedy Entertainment shared on Friday that Control 2 is being co-developed and published by 505 Games. The publisher of Control, the game is being developed for the Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, PC, PS5. Much like Remedy Entertainment's other current projects, Control 2 is some ways off, as it is currently in the concept phase. Remedy also shared that over 3 million copies of Control have been sold since launch. Did you ever play Control?
Nope.
Me either. But I love Remedy games, so it's wild that I never played this one.
Don't like Remedy games, so. You're looking confused.
It hurts. I just disagree, but...
Yeah, I think I'm sure they are great games. They just don't resonate with me for whatever reason.
You never played Alan Wake?
Played Alan Wake.
And you didn't like it?
Don't like Alan Wake. No.
And you played Quantum Break as well, I assume?
Quantum Break I actually did not play.
You won't like it.
I don't think so.
You won't like it. You won't like it. Bro, imagine Quantum Break was the game that like ruined Remedy's and Xbox's relationship.
It's
not
the whole
ruined, but like it was like
yeah.
You always thought of
really
Remedy as like an Xbox studio, and then like now you're like PlayStation, everything like.
I think they were a horrible time to be partnering with Xbox, and then B, I think the whole TV and game thing, TV. Interesting concept. I think very, very hard to pull off, and I don't know if they successfully pulled it off or not. But I feel like that is probably for some people, like looking at the game and their experience with the game, there's pushback because they probably like the distinction of like this is a game or this is a TV show.
I like
having that mixed,
but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough, you know. But that's just, you know, I like different things. I like it when games try something different. I'm always for that. Yeah. So yeah. Next up, Ubisoft teases its Splinter Cell remake, hints at what's changing. Christian Carriero, I hope I said that correctly, technical director, touched on the technical innovations planned for the Splinter Cell remake, highlighting advancements in AI that will simulate different kinds of behavior and reactions from enemies. Quote, obviously a special focused soldiers will be better trained, end quote. Carrier said, quote, they're going to breach differently or enter rooms differently to something like a regular security guard would, end quote. We can really improve AI engagement, how they're reacting and what they're reacting to. And with all of that, we can make improvements to the cat and mouse gameplay between Sam and the enemies, especially with our enemies behaving like trained professionals. You excited? Splinter Cell remake?
I like the sound of this, what they're talking about. It kind of reminds me of what Batman Arkham Asylum did with its enemies, of you getting like states when you do certain things with the enemies. Hopefully it's more expanded than that, because it was kind of basic in those games, and those games are pretty old at this point. At least Asylum is. Knights is still, it's old at this point.
Origin's still the best Batman game ever made.
Yeah, you can be delusional all you want, bro.
I'm not deluded. I know the facts.
I didn't say deluded, I said delusional.
Oh, same thing.
Exactly.
Semantics.
That's why you have the opinion you do. Semantics. I do like the sound of this. I do think that is an interesting dynamic that not enough stealth games do, of like the way enemies react. It's generally very one note the way enemies react. So I think this would be a very interesting way to try and breathe a new life into stealth games that I think for the most part have become sort of basic in a lot of people when a lot of developers try to do stealth.
Yep.
It never really feels like a fresh new idea, or it feels very complex. That I hope they pull it off with this, but we'll see. I'm hopeful.
Ultimately, when it comes to this type of stuff, just show us the game. Show us the game. If it's all well and good you saying all this stuff, show us. And that's all I'm waiting for from Splinter Cell as well. I wasn't an original Splinter Cell fan. I suppose Conviction, I think, was my first one that I really enjoyed. As most people know, stealth is not usually my go-to genre. But I'm interested, and I'm always, especially if they're gonna level up that original game, I'm totally down for it. So I look forward to seeing it when they finally show it off. Next up, Xbox November update connects Discord voice chat directly to consoles. So I'm not going to read the whole thing here, but in case you didn't know, Discord put out a thing where you could connect through Xbox that you needed your phone, and it was a whole thing at the end of the day. It kind of felt like Nintendo's voice chat system, which was like, this is just dumb, we're just going to use Discord instead, right? Xbox, I feel like, finally got it to work, where you can now connect through Xbox into Discord voice chat, which is humongous. Back in the day, I would have killed for this. Absolutely killed for this when I was on my peak streaming, Minecraft and Call of Duty and Fortnite and stuff like that. It was the number one barrier for me being able to play on Xbox, being an Xbox streamer, but want to connect with an audience. And now they've finally done it. It's taken a long time, but we're there. So shout out to Xbox because they made it happen, Crash. They made it happen.
Way back when you were known as Minecraft Fixer, this would have been fantastic.
Moving on, Dead Island 2 delayed again. This time to April 2023. I mean, there's not much more to add, Crash. This game just keeps getting delayed.
I think this is a hopeful delay of the game.
Why? What makes you say that?
Because this is a delay with intent. The last delay had no intent. They didn't know what they were doing. I think this is a delay for polish as opposed to a delay of
it's 12 weeks.
We
right?
don't know
it's
what we're doing.
Delay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they if you want to read what they said, they put out on their Twitter at Dead Island Game. Is this game going to be like the biggest disappointment ever?
I don't think so. I don't think. How excited? How much are people looking forward to this game for it to be a disappointment?
Well, it's a hard one, right? Because I feel like it's one of those games where, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Dead Island 1. Like, obviously, it had that cinematic trailer that was amazing. That's what made me buy the game. Bought the game, wasn't what I was expecting it to end up being. It was fine. It wasn't amazing, right?
Yeah.
And then Dead Island 2 gets announced. And you're like, okay, I know what I'm expecting this time. So I'm a little bit more excited for it. But then the delays and the delays and the delays and the delays. It's just like, damn. It's a long time. It's a long time.
Yeah, but I feel like that's why it won't be a disappointment. I think anybody expecting anything out of Dead Island 2 or anything like significant out of Dead Island 2, I think your mind is in the wrong place with that game.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, you know.
That's fair.
Because like Dead Island 1 was already a huge disappointment for a lot of people.
Unfortunately. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. You gonna play Dead Island 2 with me? Me and you?
Sure.
Punching up zombies? Electrocuting
Yeah.
things?
I enjoy electrocuting things every once in a while.
Not me.
Side hobby of mine.
Side hobby, just electrocute.
Just, real life. I go down the street and just electrocute random things.
Kids usually start fires. Crash started electrocuting.
I started electrocuting. Yeah, I started electrocuting people.
You joker. Next up, something I didn't even remember existed, unfortunately. Battlefield 2042 Season 3 brings new maps, battle pass, and more next week. If you want the full rundown, check out the article. But you've got a new map called Spearhead. You've got new specialist Rashid Zain, XM370A. You've got new cosmetics in the battle pass. You've got some new playlists and a bunch more added. Boy, I forgot about this game.
Does anyone care about this game still?
I don't know. Gotta be. There's gotta be people still playing it, but I don't know anybody.
people will have access to the game next week with Game Pass Ultimate because it's getting added to EA Play. So if you haven't bought the game, you'll have access to it.
If you haven't bought the game,
And yeah.
definitely don't buy the game and wait for Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be. I'm interested to see. I think Battlefield's in such a weird state where Battlefield and Call of Duty were synonymous. Call of Duty was always bigger than Battlefield, but Battlefield like really was up there. That I think Battlefield's fallen so hard that I don't know how it is possible for them to reclaim it with Battlefield.
Restart.
You think so?
Go away for some years and restart. Build it from the ground up again. And I don't care if you just reboot the whole thing, call it Battlefield, but just restart. Like, we know we took some missteps. We know what we're good at. We know what we're not good at. And they've learned that. Battle Royales, not their thing. Don't try.
Yeah.
No point. That's not what they're good at. They're good at big, gigantic maps with these big, gigantic fights happening. And I don't think that the airplane combat, they've already got that down. Like tank mechanics, they've got that. They've got all the right pieces, but they just try and do too much every time. Just bring it back.
I will say, like, I think I'd be down for a Battlefield BR game if it was made from the ground up as a BR game. But the problem with the BR game was it was made as another like portion of the Battlefield game where it's like we're trying to incorporate the way the Battlefield game works and add a BR to it.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, as opposed to like I'm gonna go from the ground up. We're gonna add like an attachment system and a pick and looting system and all that stuff from the ground up in its own natural Battlefield game. I think that could be really interesting because I do think Battlefield could be a first-person PUBG type of experience, right? A more slow, methodical BR game. But I think they tried to take the easy way out of like we're already building up this Battlefield game. We're going to throw BR into it, and I think that is
just Battlefield BR could be good.
Yeah,
from the ground up. You're right. That could work.
Other than that, I don't want to see a Battlefield BR, but I do agree they try and throw way too much stuff into these games. I think just go back to the basics and then build up from there instead of trying to launch with a million other things.
Well, you remember when this one got announced? Like, it was like, and we've got this
3
create
different
your own
game
map
modes.
phone, and you've got this, and you can create that, and you could do that. And it was like, okay. And then we played the game, and then I remember I did a sponsorship for it, and like I was like, with 3 friends, you can have fun in the game. I'm not acting like you can't, but it weren't moving the needle in any way, shape, or form, you know?
Yeah. So absolutely.
Let's jump into Fixer's Sack. Crash, Jesus, I'm going to call it something else there. Fixer's Sack. Remember, you can email in myxboxandmepodcast@gmail.com. That's myxboxandmepodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you join the Discord and write some questions in there, or use the hashtag MXAM. Or if you're watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, number 1. Hit the like button as well, and drop a comment with a question. It's absolutely fine. You can do that. First question. This is from Original Cookie Man. According to IGN USA, there are currently 8 games rated 10 out of 10 via Game Pass. Pendulum, Persona 5 Royal, Deathloop, Inside, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Crusader Kings 3, Forza Horizon 5, Undertale. Does this surprise you, Crash?
Oh.
Good talk. That was my Xbox and me this week. Thank you all for watching. Until next time.
No, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't really rate 10 out of 10s too much. I think for something like Game Pass, because it's too opinionated, I think the size of the game is a lot more important. Because like if I'm looking at that list and personally I'm looking at this game, what game would I view as a 10 out of 10? I'd only view one of the whole lot, and that's Persona 5. Not to say that any of the other games are bad.
2.
That too. 10 out of 10? I don't know if I'd say that's a 10 out of 10.
I've not played Persona 5. I've only seen it. I think there's probably on there, for me, there's probably 3. It would probably be Persona 5, only because of what I've seen, though. Not because I've played it, because I haven't played it yet. I will, though, Stead. I will. Forza Horizon 5, which I have played, I know that it's a 10. I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. And Microsoft Flight Sim. I think those are the 3 games probably for me are 10 out of 10s, whether I've seen them be played or what I've experienced when playing them. But yeah, The only problem I have with this question, Origin Cookie Man, is you're asking us to base our opinions off somebody else's opinions. You've not even gone off of like a Metacritic score or something like that. And at the end of the day, I'm not surprised by it, no, because I can't think of anything else that I would say is worthy of a 10 out of 10 from my own opinion. Like the latest Gears games. None of them are 10 out of 10s. They're fantastic games, but they're not 10 out of 10s. Halo, not a 10 out of 10. Grounded, not a 10 out of 10. I'm trying to think of
I think it's more so, are you surprised that there's 8 games available on Game Pass that are 10 out of 10s?
No.
That's how I perceive that question to be.
That makes more sense. No, I'm not surprised at all. Because look at the games as well. Pendulum, first party. Persona 5 Royal was a game that they've been working... Persona, they've been working to get on Xbox for absolute years. Deathloop, owned by Xbox. Inside, had a relationship with Limbo coming out on the 360 back when we had arcade, Summer of Arcade. So that makes perfect sense. Flight Sim, first party. So Crusader Kings, I don't know that game. I think it's an RTS. I think.
Yeah, I think it has a relationship with Microsoft because of the whole PC side of things. I could be wrong about that though.
Forza Horizon, first party. Undertale, a smaller indie game if I'm not mistaken, or maybe double that. I'm not 100% sure on that. So no, I'm not surprised by it at all. I think Game Pass shows that you can. The thing that would surprise me is, I wish I could see the dates in which these games went into Game Pass. Because Pendulum was day one, Persona was 4 years old, 3 years old.
Yeah.
Deathloop was a year old because of the exclusivity deal with Sony. Inside, I don't have a clue when that came out. Flight Sim was day one because it's first party. Crusader Kings, I actually think that might have been day one as well on PC.
I think it was day one.
Yeah, I think that was day one. Forza, first party, and that's how I haven't got a clue if that was day one as well. I think it's the time in which these games come out. Because
usually, if it's not first party, it's usually like a year later.
Yeah.
I think everything aside from Crusader Kings 3, if it's not first party, it's like a year later.
A year or something, right?
Yeah. I think the surprising thing would be if Microsoft starts regularly adding games that are perceived to be 10 out of 10s day one, which I think is... It's hard to do. Yeah, but it's such a hard thing to predict, like, what do you bet on to be a 10 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that there is a lot of guesswork and a lot of work you have to do with these game companies to see what they have and how good it is.
I think
but even then, it's like, I think like if they get a Call of Duty to be day one on Game Pass, I'm talking outside of like them buying Activision. I think that's a bigger deal than all of these games, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely. Because it could be a Call of Duty game that comes out and is a 7, but it's going to move so many customers over to Game Pass because it's Call of Duty. So
yeah, I think size of game is definitely, like, for me at least, is more important than how good the game is, right? Because we talked about when Square Enix put out what's it called, Outriders. We're like, that's a big get because it's Square Enix and whatnot.
And in hindsight, it wasn't. It wasn't a big game.
No, because the game wasn't great. Yeah. So the game didn't do well and the game wasn't big enough, right? Yeah. So it really is like, how much reach does that game have? Like, I think Persona 5 Royale on this list is a great game to look at because it's a market that Microsoft doesn't have.
Yep.
And so I think viewing it in terms of a 10 out of 10 scale is just like, that scale is just too opinionated to like really pull an actual value of how important it is to Game Pass or Microsoft from that.
Agreed. Next up, from a Wild Army, thoughts on this holiday price drop for the Xbox Series S? Do you think it will move the needle and bring Xbox closer in sales to the PS5? Do I think it'll move the needle? Yeah. I think anytime you can be on a shelf next to a competitor's console at a much lesser price is going to help. And not only that, just having units on the shelf is going to help. And that's something we know Xbox have done pretty good with both bundles, right? They've been able to sort of keep up with demand a little bit more than PlayStation's been able to. I still think PlayStation 5 is probably the most sought after console this console, not this console, sorry, this Christmas season. But I think the Series S is going to sell really well this Christmas season again.
I also think a lot of people can't find PlayStations. They'll settle for an Xbox, and they're like, well, I don't want to buy a Series X, but I'll buy the Series S. I think a lot of parents will be looking at consoles and they're like, next gen, these are all next gen. That one's $250. That's the one I'm getting. So I do think it moves the needle. I do think how many consoles they have on shelves is important as well. But like you said, I would bet that Xbox is probably gonna have more consoles on shelves than PlayStation.
Yeah.
Across the board with Series S and Series X included.
I don't think it gets them anywhere closer to PS5 though, because I just think I think the PS5 is just going to be sold out this Christmas again, like it has been constantly. And I still have friends that are like, "Can you get PS5s?" I'm like, Jesus crumbs, you still trying to get PS5s? I do think some of them are just
trying
lazy
hard
at this
enough.
point. Exactly.
Oh yeah. I think if you really, really wanted it, you could definitely do it.
But it's not just there on shelves. Like it's not always just there anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what it is. Next up, this one comes from Original Cookie Man. How much will exposed biases at the staff at the CMA affect the outcome of the ongoing investigations of the Microsoft Activision merger? So for those who didn't see this, I saw this on Twitter actually. This is from Windows Central. If you haven't read the article, please go and read the article. It's a great breakdown. There was a tweet that came out from Ricardo Cardoso, who was tweeting about the PlayStation, the Xbox Activision merger, and like one of his tweets was like, "Oh, and wasn't it something along the line?" I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but it was like, a lot to be honest with you. But it was like, "And we're going to keep it on my PlayStation," and I was like, "Huh, that's a weird thing to say."
Yeah, to be fair, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any involvement in the dealings, but it's such a weird statement for somebody like this. Just reeks of like, who are you trying to like? I don't know if he's in a position where he gets voted in. What's the case if he's trying to like muster up the PlayStation fans to vote for him or something like that? I don't know what's going on, but it's just a weird move that I like. That it just makes, regardless of what the intent behind the situation is, it just makes the whole situation reek. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. But now, no matter what the outcome is, if the outcome's negative for Microsoft, it's like, well, they had it out for Microsoft from the beginning. They were in favor of PlayStation. They were in PlayStation's pocket or whatever you want to say. It's just a weird move. And there's like a whole bunch of weird situations going on that.
Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it that's just like so out there. You're just really? You can't say this. Like, what the hell? Like,
fanboyism on a very big stage.
I saw like, oh, this is my personal Twitter. This isn't my. And I'm like, bro, like, come on, stop it. You're making yourself look silly here. Please stop. Please stop.
Yeah.
So, how much do I think it'll affect the merger? Not at all. Not at all. At the end of the day, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, to be honest with you, either. But, like, no, I think there's rules and regulations put in place for stuff like this. People who own a PlayStation, they get to use that position of power to make it lean. Maybe they are able to. I think Xbox will fight against that as much as they possibly can, though. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I also think that, like, at the end of the day, a merger of this size should be examined in some form of capacity. So I don't think the fact they're examining this is necessarily a negative sign, right?
Yeah.
I think the statements are a little bit troublesome, but I don't think it seeps into the actual investigation. Or I hope it doesn't. And I'm sure if it does to some degree, we will find out, because I don't think Microsoft will just let that happen so easily.
Yeah. Honestly, Crush, I'm tired of it. I just want it done. I hate talking about it.
Right there with you.
I'm over it. I'm so over it.
I feel like we repeat a lot of the points to say it like over and over. We're like, how am I going to word it this
You're
time?
rewording it 10,000 times with the same question. It's like, damn. Next up, we got one from Yami who says, do you think even with Papa Phil coming out saying this, that the whole deal will go through? He even mentioned that they would help make it stream on PS, which might not include Game Pass. If it does, though, including including streaming, what kind of streaming do you see happening for PS and maybe Switch/PC too? You know what I mean? This question, it's not one of your best ones, but
There was a link, a video included from a podcast
it was
or
from
something
the
like
I
that.
Just Steam podcast. I don't really know what you want me to say.
I'd be honest, Microsoft's not helping PlayStation stream nothing. That's like the fakest. That's the fakest
I think
statement I've ever
everything
heard.
that Phil keeps saying is just like, I don't think he says it not what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, without the intent of like, oh well, yeah, we'd help them make it stream and we'd put it on the console or we would put Game Pass on there. It all comes with, it's all a backhanded thing though. It's like, yeah, we'll do all this, but still only for our benefit. At the end of the day.
Yeah, like there's more to the deal than just than them being like, we're gonna give you all the resources for it, which is why it would never happen. I don't think it would ever be a deal that would benefit PlayStation enough for PlayStation to do it, and would benefit Xbox enough for Xbox to be willing to do it. And I think this statement, we've talked about how good Phil is with the statements he makes, is this statement very much paints Xbox in a positive light, very much so that if it doesn't happen, it's like, oh, look at PlayStation being the bad guys when Phil offered all this help and whatnot.
Yeah, it's the same sort of question, isn't it? I'm over it. I'm over this whole situation. I'm over it. I'm sorry, Yami. I love you, but I'm over it. Last question this week. Julian Lewis says, guys, what's happening with our Xbox? Just zero first-party games the entire 2022, and just saw a stat on Twitter that they haven't had a first-party game nominated for Game of the Year in 10 years. Is the game's issue worse than ever currently? Julian, I just want to let you know, that's got to be bullshit, because Psychonauts 2 was literally up for Game of the Year last year, if I'm not mistaken. And that's Xbox owned, first party now. Again, it was in development before they owned them, but it was published and put
Was
out by
it?
Xbox.
I wonder if the statistic was Xbox exclusives, because that technically was not an Xbox exclusive.
Well, the question says first.
No,
party.
I understand what it's saying. I'm just
Yeah.
wondering.
Well, then Xbox are never going to have any exclusives. Let's be honest. But to answer your question though, yeah, it's a bad time. It's worse ever. It's the worst. I think this might be the worst time I've ever been an Xbox fan. And we even in the Xbox One life cycle, we had Sunset Overdrive. So I could always hang my hat on Sunset Overdrive. You could go Rise Son of Rome. And there are games you can go to. Let's not pretend there are not games you can go to. But for me, those games I just mentioned were way more interesting than some of the stuff that's coming out now from a first party front. But yeah, it's been a bad year. It's been a bad year. It's been a bad year for Xbox from a first party point of view.
I mean, Pentiment, first party game, 10 out of 10s. I think that is the shining hope. The thing about Pentiment, though, is no matter how good it is not that broadly appealing. It is kind of the issue for it, where I do think it is a great game. And I think Psychonauts, to a degree, fell into the same category last year. Really, really good game.
Yep.
I don't know how appealing Psychonauts is to the wide range of gamers.
I think they're hitting their niches really well now. Like we were saying earlier, right? They've got. I've said this before on the podcast. I'll say it again. Like, PlayStation have third-person adventure action games on Smash, and those are some of the most broad appealing games in the world.
Yep.
They're graphically beautiful. They tell good stories, and PlayStation make them brilliantly. Last of Us, Uncharted, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn. But they can't make a first-person shooter to save their life from a first-party front. They haven't had a good one in forever. Probably Killzone on the PS2 for me was the one I remember being very good. They don't have any platformers like that. They don't have any. They're not widespread. But what do they have? They have a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
And that's all you
Which
have
is
to say.
amazing. Which kills the whole argument. Do you know? It kills it. Like, this is not a fair argument. But I'm saying, like, if you went down, like, simulation games, Microsoft, racing games, Microsoft, action adventure, PlayStation, shooters, PlayStation, Xbox. Like, if you went down it, Xbox would probably win. But from
Yeah.
games that are broad appeal, it makes it that much harder to go, well, PlayStation, by a mile. By a mile. It's not even close at this moment in time. But even I look at what's coming up. Avowed. I don't think it's going to move the needle. Redfall. I don't think it's going to move the needle. Contraband. I don't think it's going to move the needle. I think they're going to be good, solid games that I'm going to enjoy playing. And I think a large portion of the audience is going to enjoy playing. But they're not a Wolverine.
I think Starfield is like the game to look at next year.
Yes.
And I don't even think it's necessarily game type. I think it's the fact that it's a Bethesda game.
It's Bethesda being Bethesda.
Yeah, and Bethesda has that much reach that regardless of whether that game normally, if anybody else, because like we look at Outer Worlds and like that game had a good reach. It didn't have the same type of reach it would have had if it was attached to Bethesda, right?
Yeah.
So looking at that, I think that is the game to look at for Xbox to see if they can get it. And I'm gonna assume right now that they will be in the Game of the Year discussion for next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
it's
be
too big to not be. It generally feels that way of like, I wonder how many PlayStation hardcore PlayStation fans, they may not admit it, but how many of them are going to pick it up on PC or buy an Xbox for it? Because I think there's going to be more than we expect.
For sure. I think there'll be the Series S is going on sale. I think the smartest thing Microsoft could do is put it on sale around the time, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after this game comes out. Only the Series S. You don't have to do it for the Series X. Give it like a $50 sale or whatever, just to sort of
sweeten,
get some wiggle room. Yeah, sweeten the deal for some of these people. But I do think there's going to be a decent amount of PlayStation people who will buy it on PC or buy a Series S or something like that to play this game, because Bethesda has that sort of appeal.
Yeah,
Bethesda is that. It is one of those companies that just they can do anything and they will get love for it.
They're not even marketing Bethesda as Xbox first party. It's still like Xbox, Bethesda, equal. They don't put them above another. Like when they do the showcases, it's like Xbox and Bethesda. It's like that's how big Bethesda is.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be 100% of the game to watch out for. I think that'll hopefully change the conversation for this, and hopefully it's the start of the upswing for Xbox.
I'm trying to think about nominees now because the question of like the last few years.
Forza Horizon 5 should have been nominated last year, and it got snubbed.
That's true.
It really got snubbed.
Deathloop, which technically first party. It wasn't
that released. Was it? Yeah.
It was owned. Well, it was owned. Yeah.
It was in the process. Yeah.
I'm looking though. You're right. You are right. I'm like, wow.
But to be fair, it makes sense. The biggest complaint we've had about Xbox for the longest time is where are the first parties? And they've certainly had good first parties. They had a lot of good first parties. They've had first parties that probably end up in a lot of people's top 5 game of the years list.
Yep.
But they haven't had those type of first parties that end up in the Game Awards top 5 game of the year list. Which, to be fair, the Game Awards is stuff that ends up there is very questionable at times.
The Outer Worlds.
Like we'll talk about it because there's certain. Yeah.
The Outer Worlds was
that came out before Xbox acquired Obsidian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah.
Damn, it has been a long time. Damn.
Yeah.
That is wild. That is wild.
So
we'll talk about this more next week on the Game of the Year Game Awards episode. Let's plug and get ourselves out of here, Crash. What you got to plug this week, my friend?
The YouTube page. Subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, follow the Twitter, tweet at us, do all the social media stuff.
You need to go back to bed, bud. You're so sick, I could tell. You can follow me everywhere at MC Fixer. I just did a project with Intel that I'd love it if you guys went and checked out. It was called The Great PC Build-Off. If you know anything about me, you know I've never built a PC in my life. I think I spoke about it last week. I'll still plug it again this week. It's hilarious. Please, please, please go and watch it. You can find a link on my Twitter, or you can go onto the Intel Gaming YouTube channel and you'll see it. The Great PC Build-Off. Go and check that out. We'll probably record again early this week. We're recording late this week, so that's why the episode's out late this week. Thank you all for watching once again. We appreciate you. Make sure you subscribe. Until next time, we'll love you, leave you, see you all later. Keep being amazing, and a good boy.